With Blade of the Ruined King nerfed this patch, there's a really strong new build for Twitch you'll want to be playing. Silas has a new rush item that's been performing incredibly well, and the highest win rate new build is not something you'd expect. We've got all this and so much more to cover in today's video as we provide you guys with 10 of the most OP new builds for patch 14.21. And did you know mastering your champion will boost your win rate by a massive 9% on average? That's why at SkillCapped we offer Smurf commentaries. Simply select the champion you want to master and get guides from challenger experts teaching you how to play your champion in the exact rank you're stuck in. You're even guaranteed to have all your questions answered by that very same challenger expert. After that, take one of our 5 brand new courses that teach you the secrets to carrying as a top laner, jungler, mid laner, AD carry, and support. It doesn't stop there. We have new Season 14 courses on macro, wave control, trading, setting, and hotkeys, CSing, vision, mechanics, low elo mistakes, the list goes on. The best part, you can try all of this out completely risk-free. Since if you don't rank up while actively using SkillCapped, you get your money back, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below right now to get the rank you've always dreamed of. A brand new rune setup has started to become meta on Urgot as both Press the Attack and Fleet are being overshadowed. The keystone rune leading to absolutely incredible results for Urgot right now is Phase Rush. It's not really that hard to understand why the rune has so much potential on Urgot because he's a less mobile champ who has a more difficult time sticking onto targets. Not only does Phase Rush provide Urgot with some really nice sticking power, but that added movement speed can actually give Urgot so much more damage per second because he'll be able to move around and proc his passive faster. The short trade pattern early on in lane with Phase Rush is absolutely disgusting as well. Urgot goes in with his E, lands Q with an auto attack to proc Phase Rush, and then backs away with all the movement speed. This short trade pattern is almost impossible for the enemy to fight back against, and you should be winning trades every single time your Phase Rush is off cooldown. So here's a look at the complete rune page as Phase Rush is followed by Nimbus Cloak, Celerity, and Gathering Storm, while Conditioning and Overgrowth are for secondaries. There's so many viable builds going around on Urgot right now, as we covered his Heartsteel with Overlord's Bloodmail build last patch, but a new setup that's been performing even better consists of going Spear of Shojin second. Black Cleaver with Shojin and Overlord's Bloodmail is the core. One of the most OP top lane builds right now that not a lot of players are taking advantage of consists of Unending Despair on Singed. What makes Unending Despair so great for Singed is the fact that the passive heal can be incredibly valuable for him when he's diving into multiple members of the enemy team. For a champion whose extended skirmish is great, you should be able to get at least 2 of these heal procs off in a drawn-out fight. Just have a look at this clip and practice tool here, when Singed is dealing damage to 3 champions on the enemy team, and as long as he's within 650 units of those champs after 5 seconds, he's going to be getting a 470 health heal. That is just absolutely insane. So where do you slot Unending Despair into the build then? It's going to work best as your third purchase, as you still want to go damage for your first 2 items with Liandry's and Riftmaker. The rune page with this build will be Conqueror followed by Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand, while Nimbus Cloak and Celerity are for secondaries. We saw this new build pulled out at Worlds this year by Inspired on FlyQuest, and it's actually made its way to solo queue and is performing incredibly well. The build in question has you rushing Redemption, going Locket second, and then Abyssal Mask or Frozen Heart third. It's an all-out utility supportive new setup which can work wonders for you in the correct situations. If you're in a game where you get a couple early ganks off bot lane and your ADC is ahead, playing this build and just continuing to spoon feed your bot lane is a great win condition. It doesn't even have to be bot lane either. If you have a fighter up in top lane who gets ahead, then going this build to buff them up and really enable them even more can work amazing. Especially in a game to where you have an enchanter support and a lethal tempo ADC. If you play this build on Nunu, your ADC is never going to die in a fight. Now, if you're the one getting all the kills on your team, or if your team just isn't doing too well, playing a more selfish build with Sunfire Rush does still make sense. The rune page to run with this build is Phase Rush followed by Nimbus Cloak, Celerity, and Water Walking, while Triumph and Haste are for secondaries. Over the past few patches, we've seen Hubris really begin to rise in priority on a bunch of champions, and a jungler you need to be playing it on is Hecarim. It's going to be a very snowbally and heavy damage focused build here, as after rushing Hubris, it's Spear of Shojin second and then Cyrilda's Grudge third. You're playing to be able to one-shot the enemy ADC or any squishy on the enemy team with this build. Hubris does have quite a lot of value on Hecarim because it's passive only procs after you pick up a kill in a fight. However, that's completely fine because Hecarim's extended skirmish is quite strong. You can dive in with Hecarim R to take out that first target and then use Phase Rush to reposition and get ready to go back in with all the bonus damage from Hubris. For the complete rune page, it's going to be Phase Rush with Nimbus Cloak, Celerity, and Water Walking, while Triumph and Haste are for secondaries. It's time to drop Storm Surge on Syndra, as the item is now a bit overrated after its recent nerfs. The item that is now outperforming Storm Surge and starting to see a lot more play in the higher elos is Cosmic Drive. It's still quite underplayed, but the underlying stats behind the item are absolutely incredible for Syndra. In about 5,000 Cosmic Drive Syndra games, players are winning 57% of the time time when they're able to complete Cosmic Drive as their second item. Compare this to Storm Surge, and players are only winning 52% of the time after completing Storm Surge as their second item. So what are the pros to going Cosmic Drive over Storm Surge? The big one is that Cosmic Drive offers up 25 ability haste, while Storm Surge gives none. This added haste can feel really nice in mid-game teamfights for Syndra because her E is on a 17-second cooldown, but with Ludens and Cosmic Drive completed, that drops to 11 seconds. Compare this to having Ludens with Storm Surge, and E will be on a 15-second cooldown in the mid-game. So 4 seconds off such an impactful teamfight tool is huge and provides Syndra with a much more threatening extended fight. You also get health and movement speed from Cosmic Drive, so the overall survivability of the item is so much greater than that of Storm Surge. Of course, your full burst combo won't deal as much damage, but just based on the stats, it's looking like the trade-off for everything else you get is well worth it. So the complete core build you should be running is a Ludens Rush into Cosmic Drive second and Rabadon's third. Roll with First Strike for the Keystone Rune, followed by Free Boots, Triple Tonic, and Cosmic Insight, while Mana Flow and Transcendence are for secondaries. There are so many variations to Sylas builds that you can run right now, but one setup that is completely new that has just popped up as of recent consists of running Blackfire Torch. It's Blackfire into Riftmaker as the 2-item core, and it's a very strong extended fight build. The passive on Blackfire provides you with a 4% boost in ability power for each champ you proc the Blackfire passive on, while Riftmaker gives you up to 8% bonus damage after being in combat for 4 seconds. Sylas, being a champ who loves his extended skirmishes, can take advantage of both of these passives really well. You're also just able to stay on the map longer and not have to worry so much about spamming your abilities due to the mana that you get from Blackfire. If you go the standard Rocket Belt with Storm Surge, you get no mana at all from that core, which means you have to be a lot smarter with how you're using your mana. The rune page with this build will be Electrocute, followed by Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, and Relentless Hunter, while Second Wind and Overgrowth are for secondaries. It's time to pivot away from Blade of the Rune King on Twitch for 14.21 as the item is being nerfed. It's honestly not even a bad thing for Twitch that Blade is being nerfed though, because the Collector had already been outperforming even before the nerfs. The Collector was heavily buffed in 14.20 and has made its way onto Twitch as his most optimal rush item. The complete 3-item core that you should be running for this patch consists of the Collector into Hurricane second and Infinity Edge third. Lots of crit coming out of this build, as that is one of the big perks to going the Collector over Blade of the Rune King. Now for the rune page, look to run Press the Attack with this setup instead of Lethal Tempo. PTA has been outperforming Lethal Tempo anyways, but with the Collector specifically, upfront burst damage is really good with the higher AD and lethality that you get from the Collector, combined with getting that Press the Attack proc off. For our second ADC build of the patch, this one is for Caitlyn, as lethality Kate is looking really powerful right now. With the Collector just buffed and being much cheaper, going for lethality is a lot more viable since you really want to be able to snowball the early to mid game for the setup to be more valuable than crit. The rush item that's been performing the best on Caitlyn has been Hubris, and then you slot in the Collector second. Lots of lethality and burst power coming out of this setup, which works really well for solo queue. Upfront burst is a lot of the time more valuable than consistent DPS because it makes finding that initial catch and giving your team the numbers advantage a lot easier. Now, of course, the rune page that you'll want to be taking with this build revolves around First Strike as the Keystone Rune. Don't be going for Fleet or Lethal Tempo because you get amazing value out of First Strike due to the fact that you burst really hard with this setup. There's a new carry Senna build that's been gaining traction over the past patch, and it consists of slotting in Manamune as a core purchase. Black Cleaver is going to be the rush item, and then you look to grab Manamune second, as this core has had the highest win rate on Senna. The mid-game spike with this setup is going to absolutely outclass any other alternative. Not having to ever run into mana issues is amazing, as you can just spam out Senna Q off cooldown, and the overall damage output is going to be a lot higher than if you go Rapid Fire Cannon. Especially in games where your team is lacking damage. Let's say you have a tank top and jungle, then going for this Manamune build will work amazing. For the rune page, look to grab Airy with Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Scorch, while Font of Life and Revitalize are for secondaries. A new Zilean build that has been catching on quite a bit ever since the item changes from 14.19 consists of running Cosmic Drive as a core item. This is currently the highest win rate core for Zilean in solo queue, as you go Solstice Slay for the item upgrade, pick up Shurelia's first, and then Cosmic Drive slots in second. Ability haste is a very key stat for Zilean, and with Cosmic Drive providing 25 haste, that alone gives the item a lot of strength on him. The movement speed is also super nice because you get 4% from Shurelia's and then another 4% from Cosmic Drive, and combined with 350 health from Cosmic Drive, it just makes Zilean a lot more difficult to catch out later on in the game. You really never want to have to be using your ultimate on yourself in fights as Zilean, and this build does an amazing job at ensuring you won't have to. The damage output from this core is pretty respectable as well, since you get 50 AP from Shurelia's and then 70 from Cosmic Drive. Overall, just a very movement speed focused setup, which allows Zilean to space very well in fights so that he can be in the right place at the right time to use his ultimate on his teammates. Airy is the Keystone Rune to go along with this build, followed by Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Water Walking, while Cheap Shot and Relentless Hunter are for secondaries. Alright guys, one last thing, our rank up guarantee is insane. It's like signing up for the gym and getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in SkillCapped. We obsess over making making the best guides with top players, rigorous testing, and top-tier video editing to make your climb easy. If you're ready to level up, visit SkillCapped.com and see the difference. So there you have it, everyone. 10 new builds that are extremely powerful that you can play for patch 14.21. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll catch you back soon.